Good day to you all. This is Creative Works by Annie and welcome to my channel. Today we'll be working on the most adorable doily for Valentine's Day, or really anytime you want to spread the love. This pattern is called Skull-in-tine. Yes, just like Valentine, it's Skull-in-tine, and it can be found free in my Ravelry store. So in the description below you can find the link where to get this pattern, and you can print that out and you can follow it along the way. Okay, I have my copy over here because even I have to have cheat sheets. So go grab your copy, go grab your favorite yarn or thread. This one came from my stash. I believe it's Aunt Linda's. Quick tip, which I forgot to do on this skein: when you take off the wrapper, whether it's paper or plastic, roll it up and put it on the inside. It will unfoil and or uncurl, and it will open up, and you'll always have your information right there handy for you in case you wanted to order more. Okay. And then we're going to be using well, mine says size 6, but it's a vintage one. I do believe this equals out to being about a 1.65 millimeter hook, but you can use any hook that fits the needs for your thread or your yarn that you can use for this. Okay, hopefully you have your pattern ready because it's a little easier to follow along. Pause along the way, because I am kind of a fast crocheter, so you can either jump ahead or pause it however you would like to do that. Okay, so let's get started. Row 1, we're going to chain 5, and we're going to join to form a circle. Now I always tip my thread down, my little tail, so that way I can potentially work over it and help hide it and tuck it in. Then I'm going to chain 4, and I'm going to work a DC tog. It's also considered a 2 DC cluster, if you want to look at it that way. But in my terms, I always use a DC tog, or a 2 DC tog. So I need 2 DC tog right there. And then I need a chain 2, another 2 DC tog. My fingers cooperate. Chain 2, and another 2 DC tog, or 2 DC together, if you want to look at it that way. And then I need a triple crochet right in there as well. Okay. Let me get a whiteboard. It might be a little easier for you to see. Okay. Now, we're going to chain 4, and we're going to turn the piece over. So we're going to be working the front and back. So right side, wrong side. We're going to be putting a shell, which is a 2 DC tog, chain 2, 2 DC tog, or 2 together, chain 2, 2 together, in next chain space, which is right here. And this is going to be known as a shell throughout the pattern. We're going to chain 3, and we're going to shell in this next little space. And we're going to put a triple crochet in this little chain space right here that we used in the for the turning. Okay. And there's row 2. For row 3, we're going to chain 4 once again for the turning, flip it over, work a shell in the shell space, we're going to now chain 2, and then in this chain space right here we're going to work a double crochet, chain 4, double crochet, chain 2, and then a shell in the next shell space. Okay, you see this shell space right there that I'm working in? Okay, then once again we're going to do a triple right in this space right here. We're going to chain another 4, and then that is our row 3. Going to turn it over, and we're going to start the base of our skull. So we're going to start with a shell in the shell space, we're going to chain 2, and we're going to put 7 double crochets right in this chain space. Okay, we're going to skip this one and work 7 DC right into this little V right here. I'm going to follow up by a chain 2 and shell in the next shell space. We're going to do another triple right in this little chain space right there. Chain 4, and then that is the end of row 4. Turn it over. We're going to shell once again in our shell space, chain 2, okay, here's where we chain 2. We're going to start the first row with teeth. So we're going to do a 2 DC tog or together in this first stitch right here. Chain 1, skip a stitch, DC in the next one, chain 1, skip a stitch, DC in this next one, chain 1, skip a stitch, and 2 DC together right in this next stitch. Chain 2, then work your shell in the shell and your triple in that next little chain space. Don't forget your chain 4. Set this down and flip my page over here. Okay. Now for row 6, we're going to do a shell in the shell again. We're going to chain 3 this time. And we're going to skip the chain space and DC together on top of the next stitch. Chain 1, skip the chain space, double crochet into the next stitch, chain 1, skip the chain space, double crochet into the next stitch, chain 1, skip the chain space, and a DC together in this next stitch. We're going to finish off with a chain 3 and a shell in the shell space, and then once again that triple crochet in that chain space. Don't forget to wear your chain 4. Okay. Now we have 2 rows of teeth. I'm going to flip this over, and we're going to work our shell in the shell. Going to chain 2, and we're going to work 2 DC together in this chain space as close as you can get to your stitch. I like to work those ones a little on the tighter side, just so that way it hugs that chain really nice. In the next stitch, we're going to work a half double crochet and a single crochet. We're going to work singles all the way across here. So single, 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 and single. In this next stitch, we're going to work a single crochet and a half double crochet. Now once again, work a 2 DC tog in this chain space and work it a little on the tighter side so that way it hugs that really nice. Going to chain 2 and finish this row off with a shell in the shell and that wonderful triple crochet into that chain space. Okay. Now this next row we're going to do the shells in the shells a little different, because we're going to expand on it and start working our second and third skulls in here. Now these little things can be used as motifs, or they can be strung together to form a nice little beautiful garland that you can hang up. So in the shell space, you work a regular shell, just like you did before. Maybe. But we're not going to end there. We're going to crochet or chain 2. We're going to work another DC together in that same space. Okay? And now we're going to chain 3. We're going to skip this chain, and on top of the in the next stitch, we're going to work 2 half double crochets. And then single crochet the next 4. We're going to chain 4. This is going to become our nose. We're going to skip the next stitch, single crochet in the next one, single crochet in the next 2 as well. Then we're going to work a single crochet and a half DC right here. And then work a single half double crochet right there. Okay. By doing that, it kind of just evens it out a little bit better and it's more pleasing to the eye. I'm going to chain 3 once more and finish off the row, which we're going to do with a shell. I'm going to do an extra chain 2 and do that extra 2 DC together right there. And don't forget your triple and your chain 4. Okay, we're going to start row 9. So we're going to flip it over and work a shell in this next little chain space right here. I'm going to chain 3, work another shell in the next little chain space, chain 2. We're going to put a DC together right in this first little stitch right here. Technically, this is a stitch right here, otherwise known as a hidden stitch. So we're going to use the one that lines up, the stitch that lines up with the side of the skull. So we're going to work a 2 DC together in there, chain 5, put a half double crochet in the nose, chain 5 again. We're going to be skipping 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches. We're going to put the next DC together in this last stitch here. Okay, going to chain 2, skip the chain space, and work a shell in the next little shell space. Chain 3, work another shell in the next little shell space right there. And your triple in the chain space. Chain your 4, and that's it right there. Now we're going to flip it over, work our shell in our shell space, chain 2, we're going to put a DC, chain 4, and another DC in the next chain space. So we're chaining 2. This little chain space that's right here, that's where we put our, our double crochet, our chain 4, our next double crochet, chain 2, and shell in the next one. Going to chain 2, and we're going to put an HDC or half double crochet in the next stitch, 5 half double crochets in this chain space, 5 half double crochets in this chain space, and a half double crochet in here. Okay. I didn't line that one stitch up right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then your half double in that next stitch right there. Okay. Then we're going to chain 2 once more. I'm going to shell in the next shell space. Now chain 2, work the DC, chain 4, and DC in that next chain space. Chain 2, and finish off your row. We are on row 11. Okay. So now we're going to shell in the next shell space. Chain 2. Okay. Okay, now we're going to chain 2, and we're going to skip this chain space. We're going to work 7 DC to this chain space, and that's going to be our skull of our chin of our skull. Whew. chain 2, shell in the next shell space, chain 2. For some reason I like saying chain 2. Okay, well, which we are going to chain 2 again. Now we're going to DC into what would be considered the hidden stitch, which is right here. And we're going to skip 2 and lay it down. It just rounds that in, okay? So if you can't find that hidden stitch, just stitch in the closest chain to there. It'll probably be that hidden stitch. So now we're going to single crochet across 6 times, so 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we are going to skip these 2 stitches. We're going to DC in this next stitch. Chain 2, shell in the next shell space. Chain 2 and 7 DC in the big shell space, or the big chain space there. Six and 7, and chain 2. Put a shell in the next shell space, and don't forget your triple crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, mess with the little eyeballs right there, so you can kind of see that we have our skull, this skull almost made. I'm going to take a sip of coffee here. Now, before I carry on, I want to tell you a quick little story. February is a weird and special month for me and my hubby. Now, not only is it February 14th is Valentine's Day, of course, but my husband is born February 20th. And so without really thinking about it, because we kind of forgot about Valentine's Day and we forgot about his birthday, and we kind of had an elopement type wedding. We went to the Justice of the Peace with a few family members. It was just a small little thing, and that just happened to be the day that the Justice of the Peace had opened to do our wedding. And our wedding was February 17th. So for 1 week in February, it's a super special week of Valentine's Day, birthday, and anniversary. This year it's going to be our 28th wedding anniversary. So tell me down below if you have any weird coincidences like that you don't plan, it just kind of happens. Or tell me something about if you have a great Valentine's Day type story, or a horrible Valentine's Day story, or a great birthday story, or an anniversary story. So just let me know down below. It's kind of fun to read what other people, how they celebrate, or things that might have happened to them, coincidences, just weird little things. So have fun. Tell me a nice little story in the comments down there. So let's start row 12. We're going to shell in the shell space again. And we're going to work on that first row of teeth. So we're going to chain 2 after our shell. We're going to skip the chain space, DC together in the first stitch, chain 1, skip stitch, DC in the next, chain 1, skip stitch, DC in the next, chain 1, skip stitch, DC together in that last one. Gonna chain 2, skip the chain space, and shell in the next shell space. Now we're going to chain 2, skip the chain space, we're going to put a DC into the next stitch, we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, single crochet in each of the next 2. Okay. Then we're going to skip the next 2 stitches and double crochet in that last stitch there. Going to chain 2, shell in the next shell space. And that finishes off that bottom skull. Okay, do your teeth on this side the same way. So you chain 2, skip the chain space, double crochet or DC tog, chain 1, skip. Sometimes my fingers don't listen to my brain. Chain 1, skip stitch, DC, chain 1, skip stitch, DC, chain 1, skip stitch, DC together. Chain 2 and shell and triple crochet and finish off your row. Yeah, I don't think it was till the following year when we went to go celebrate our first wedding anniversary that we realized it just perfectly came in between Valentine's Day and his birthday. So now row 13, we're going to do our second set of teeth. So we're going to shell in the shell space. I'm going to chain 3 this time and work our upper teeth. So it's a DC tog in the first stitch there, chain 1, skip chain, DC in the next stitch, chain 1, skip chain, DC in the next stitch, chain 1, skip chain, and DC together in the next stitch. And we're going to chain 3. Okay. Now we're going to shell in the next shell space. And we're going to chain 2 before we skip all the top of the skull and work a shell in the next shell space. We're going to chain our 3. And we're going to finish off our row of teeth here. Don't forget, if you have the printed pattern, you can just kind of watch this video and then go take up the printed pattern, or if you have it on your device, you can pull it up and work it that way. And then just come back and kind of reference this if you need a little extra help. If you are learning to read a pattern, or if you have difficulty reading a pattern, this is nice because you can follow along while this is going on, so you can actually kind of see, oh, okay. I noticed that one thing about my patterns compared to quite a few other people is I am long-winded, okay? So some might see this as excess and they kind of get lost in the pattern, but if I figure it's kind of like the old MapQuest things. You can use your GPS and use the shortest you can get it and the easiest way to get there, but then you can still get lost. Whereas this way, if it's drawn out and mapped out, you can come back and underline things, point arrows to things, and I like to add the pictures so that way you can count with me or see exactly what that row should look like when it gets done. I also try to highlight things in red and blues, so that way, oh, I don't have any blues on here to show you. Oh, there's some. So that way you can really pay attention a little bit more and get some tips, tricks, and help you along the way. don't forget, anytime you have an issue with one of my patterns or you have a question, whether you think it's dumb question or where you're just stuck on something and your mind goes into brain freeze, just message me. I'll be glad to help. So now we are on row 14. We're going to flip and do our shell in that first shell space again. We're going to chain 2 this time. We're going to be working the upper, or just underneath the cheeks. So we're going to work a DC together, that chain space. Try to make it a little on the tight side. Then the next stitch, we're going to work a half double crochet and a single crochet, working singles all the way across. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we're going to work a half double crochet and a single crochet in here. So single crochet first, and your half double crochet, and then your DC together in that chain space. Okay, and we're going to chain 3. No, we're gonna, oh my god, my notes. It's a chain 2. See, this is why I have my notes here, and it's a great thing to do whenever you follow somebody's pattern like this. Have the printed pattern on the side or pull it up on another device so you can read it. So then we're going to shell in each of the next 2 shell spaces. Chain our 2, work the top of our cheeks there. Same as before. And then finish out your row. Okie dokie. Let me change my paper here. Okay, we're now going to work on row 15. We're going to do the noses and this little center point right here. So flip it over. Shell in the shell space. Chain 3 this time. Put 2 half double crochets in that first stitch. Single crochet in the next 4. 2, 3, 4. Chain 4 up there for the nose. Skip the chain, or skip the stitch. Single crochet in the next 3, then single crochet and half double crochet in this next stitch here, and then half double crochet in the next stitch. Going to chain, ooh, my notes, I should have highlighted this. We're going to chain 3 right here. We're going to put a DC together, the next chain space. Chain 2, DC together in the next chain space, chain 3 again, working our 2 half doubles, single crochet in the next 4, chain 4, skip and single crochet in the next 3 stitches. Single crochet and half double crochet in the next stitch, half double in the next stitch, chain 3, and finish off the row. Okay, now we're going to flip it once more. We are now on row 16. We're going to shell in the next shell space. Going to chain 2. We're going to work a DC together right in this first stitch because it lines up. We're going to chain 5 and work a half double crochet in the nose, chain 5 again, skip the 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches and DC together in that last stitch there. We're now going to chain 3. We're going to work a shell. We're going to skip this chain space and we're going to work a shell right into this space right here between these two DC togethers. Then work the same way on the other side, do your DC together, your chain 5, your half double inside the nose there, and your DC together on the opposite side there. That's a chain 2, and then finish off your row. Okay, now for the next few rows, we're going to only be working on this skull right here. Okay, we're going to be flipping it back and forth, same as before, but we're only going to be working on this one. Okay, so just ignore this little piece right over here for now. So row 17, I'm going to turn it over and shell in the next shell space. Then we're going to chain 2. We're going to half double crochet into this stitch, 5 half double crochets in this chain space, 5 in this one, and a half double in this. Three, 4, 5, a half double in there. We're going to chain 2, and then we're going to shell into this shell space, okay? Instead of our triple, we're going to just or our chain 4, we're going to just chain 1 this time, okay? So just 1. And this is going to aid in us flipping it over so we start row 18. So you slip stitch into that chain space, you chain 2, DC, chain 2, and then do your DC together, okay? So you have just a single little shell there, nice little pretty thing. We're going to chain 2, we're going to DC in that first stitch, or hidden stitch, however you want to call it. We're going to skip 2 stitches, single crochet in the next 6, 4, 5, 6. We're going to skip these next 2 stitches and DC in the next one. Chain 2, finish off our row, and that's going to include our triple crochet in that little chain space there. Then we're going to chain 4. Okay. Now we're going to flip it over, and we're going to shell in the shell space. Going to chain 2, skip the chain space here, DC in next stitch, skip the next 2 stitches, single crochet in each of the next 2, skip next 2 stitches, DC in next stitch, chain 2, we're going to shell and chain 1 in the next shell space. Now we're going to flip it over. We are on row 20. So slip stitch into that shell, chain 2, DC, chain 2, and DC together in there. We're then going to chain 2. We're going to shell in the next shell space. And then don't forget your triple crochet right there. Okay. We chain our 4. Let me get rid of my other page here. Okay. Now, before I continue on to this, please see the picture that I'm going to put on the screen. And you're going to see where I highlight where to do the next stitches a little bit easier, as well as the DC together. So, because we're going to be working down to the center of the doily. Okay? So please take a quick glance at that on your printed copy or on the picture right here. Okay, now that you studied that just a little bit, we're going to flip, remember we're on row 21, we're going to flip it over and do just DC together in that first, in that shell space right there, okay? And now we're going to skip this chain space, and we're going to single crochet in that next stitch. Okay, now we're going to chain 4. We're going to single crochet in the base of that shell. Okay, so right here, going to chain 4 again, and chain or put a single crochet on the base of this one. Chain 4 again, single crochet in the base. Now we're going to chain 2 this time, and we're going to put a DC together right next to this DC, so right here. So you can slide those little babies over. Okay, we're going to put one right here. Okay, now we're going to finish off this row, so we're going to chain 2. We're going to put a half double crochet in this one, 5 half doubles in here, 5 half doubles in here, a half double crochet, and then finish off our row. My testers did that, 2 of them. They were amazed that I got down there to that point. They know who they are, because I know they're probably giving a watch on this little video. But yeah, it's a neat transition way, so you don't have to knot it off. I hate, if I can make a pattern that I don't have to cut and join somewhere else, I will so do it. Because the less knots, the nicer it is in my book. Okay, so then we're going to flip it over. We are now on round 22. Going to flip it, work the shell in the shell. Going to chain our 2. Skip the chain space and put the DC. Skip 2. Single crochet in the next 6. Skip 2, DC in the next one, chain 2, and now we're going to put a shell and a triple crochet in this chain right here, okay? Two, and then our triple. Now we're going to chain 4. Okay, we're going to flip it over, work shell in this shell space, going to chain 2, skip this shell space right here, DC in the next stitch, skip 2 stitches, single crochet in each of the next 2, skip 2 stitches and DC in the next stitch. Then we're going to finish off our row. Okay, we are on now row 24. I'm going to flip it. We're going to work a shell in the shell space, chain 2, and then a shell in the next shell space. Finishing off the row with that triple crochet. Got chain 4. Now we're on the last row. We're going to flip it. We're going to put a DC together in that shell space and a single crochet in the next shell space. Okay? So that's what it looks like. Now we're going to work the border round, which is a nice, easy, simple thing to do. So while I'm working on that, I want to know, are you going to keep this for yourself? Are you going to string them along and make a garland? Are you going to use them as motifs and make Valentines and send some Valentines out? Or are you just going to kind of display them all together with your normal doilies, your everyday doilies? You could also frame them. So tell me down below, what are you going to do with this little doily once it's made? So now we're going to chain 1, working on the border, and we're going to single crochet into this next chain space right here. We're going to be working around or in each chain space. Remember, some of those are the triple crochets, but you can, as you can see, they just look like regular chain spaces now. So we're going to chain 1, and we're going to single crochet in that next chain space. We're going to single crochet once more into that chain space, chain 3, and do 1 single crochet. And in each one of the next, 43 chain spaces, you're going to be working 2 single crochets, chain 3, and a single crochet. 2, 1, 2, 3, single, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, single, 1, 2, 2, single, do your triple or your chain 3, single, chain 2, I'm going to fast forward a little bit here, and I'll meet you in the middle for the next little different piece. Okay, now we are to the center point right here. Come on, yarn, stay out of the way. So we're at the center point where the V dip is in the heart, okay? So what we're going to do here is after your, because you're going to have basically done 44 of these, so one right here and then 43 of the repeats, and you're going to end up in the middle. Now in this one, you're going to do 2 single crochet in this next chain right here. 1, 2. Okay, now we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to single crochet right in top of that last single crochet you made. Okay, and you're going to form a little loop. Now you're only going to put 1 single crochet in this next chain space. Okay, and then we're going to do 2 in the next one. We're going to chain 3, put a single crochet in that same one, do 2 singles, chain 3, put a single in that same one. Next one we're going to do 2 single crochets, a chain 3, and a single crochet in that stitch or that same space. And now we're going to join with a slip stitch into that first single crochet we made. Okay, and then we fasten off. Okay, now to answer any questions you might think about, like, why did we only put 1 there? Well, if you see that we have 3 singles right here, so we have 1, 2, 3 single crochets, and then if we do a single crochet here, we have 2 more here, so you have 3 and 3. So it equals and balances it out. Okay, now you're going to tuck in your tail, and you will need to kind of block this because, as you can see, to get that nice little shape there, you don't have to stretch it too much, but make sure you bring out your corners here so that way it lines up straighter. You can see where I have my pin there. Woohoo! And then make sure you have a nice little shape to your heart. Okay? Okay, well, let's check out what we just created. Nice little pink one. That side. So on this side. So as you can see, they make a beautiful little collection there. Now if you wanted to join your hearts on one side as you go, feel free, because then you can always put another white one right here, a pink one right here, and a red one right here, and you'd have a full circle. Or you can do it all in one color. It's up to you. That would be an adorable idea. You can also hang these as garland, just like this. String them all up. So that concludes the Skull-in-tine pattern here. But if you want to continue on with some of the skulls and hearts, this one right here is called For the Love of Skulls. So you can see the hearts and you can see the skulls. One neat thing about this pattern is that at the very center, you will see that you can make a cute little 8-point snowflake. Okay, and then 1 through 9, you will have just a cute little small doily that just ends in the little hearts. So this pattern, you can get 3 different patterns out, and this one is called For the Love of Skulls, and you can find this at my Ravelry store as well as my Etsy store. So if you like what you've seen and you like me waffling on and you love skulls, please hit that subscribe button and notifications to see when I make more new little things, new patterns, or other little adventures. So don't forget to like and share, and make sure you get your free Skull-in-tine pattern, and you can go search out the For the Love of Skulls pattern right here, also on my Ravelry and Etsy page. Links are down below. And so I hope you had fun with this video. Share and like the video, and you all have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you.